Assalamu alaikum. This is Sayyida Wajiha Ali Bilgrami, and I am here to start a series in which I'll be documenting my journey throughout DSMP. Which is what is DSMP? DSMP is stands for Data Science Mastery Program, which is a fellowship program in which we'll be covering, or I can say, mastering data science. So, in this series, I'll be explaining the assignments which we are given after our sessions. So for the first session, we covered Python basics, and then we were given assignment one, and in which we had to implement those concepts. So I'll be explaining how I implemented those concepts in my assignment. So let's begin. First, we have comments. Comments are basically are used for the purpose of adding descriptions to code or explanations to code or just simple comments for the user view. So basically, it means that it cannot be executed by the interpreter in Python. So we have two types of comments in which we have a single line comment and a multi-line comment. Single line comment starts from the hash sign and it goes only till this one line. And multi-line comments can be as big as I want to comment, and they begin and end with three single quotes or double quotes. So here I've been told to print my name and include both single and multi-line comments, in which I've included single line comment and multi-line comment, and then a print function to print a statement, and the output is here. Next, we have error identification. Error identification, we have multiple kind of errors in Python. I will be adding link of my blog for Python basics in which I have discussed these concepts, so you can see that all as well. Here I'll be just discussing how I implemented those. So for identification, we know that we have multiple kind of errors in which we have logical errors, syntax errors, runtime errors. So we'll be basically identifying and correcting the errors here. We are given some statements. So the first statement is this one. We can see that it begins with a parenthesis. Parent function always begins with a parenthesis. The statement always comes between the parentheses, but it does not end with the parenthesis. So we just add the parenthesis so it can become a correct statement, and then we can print. Next, we have this one, in which the denominator we can see clearly that it is 0, and we know that an integer cannot be divided by 0. So we can either change the number and then print that the previous divisor was 0 and a number cannot be divided by 0. Next, we have a list statement in which a list is being declared, but it has error because the bracket is not closed. So we just close the error. We corrected the error by closing the bracket, and the another error which was related to this statement was that I'm printing my list with index number 3. We know that a list index begins with 0, so we have 0th position, then first position, and second position. So there is no third position. So there's no third index. So I'll just put the last index, which is 2 or second, so that it can print correctly. So here are my outputs, which have been printed by correcting the statements above. Next, we have variable assignment. Variable we know are used for storing purposes. Here I've been given to assign my name, age, height, and whether I'm a student or not, with the specific data types. So here I'll be just assigning my name, age, height, and whether I'm a student or not, two variables called name, age, height, and is a student. We do not have to specify the data type in Python while declaring the variables, because Python can by default identify the data types through the value we have given if we have given the correct value. So I'll just print it, and here we can see the output. Next, we have descriptive variables names. A variable's name should be descriptive so that it can be easily identified for which purposes are these used. So here I'm given some kind of variables which are not very descriptive, so I've just replaced their names. I'm renaming them as first number, second number, and then the product, and I'm then printing it so it can be correctly descripted to the people who are seeing this code. And the output is here. Next, we have numeric types and operations. We have operations operators. We can plus, minus, multiplying, and division. So we have been giving some kind of operations to perform, which we'll be performing by using operators in Python. So first we have to add two integers. I declared variables, giving them proper values of integers, and then I'm adding them and assigning the answer to sum of numbers variables, and then I'm printing them. Next we have subtract a float value from an integer value I've given, float value I've given, and then I'm subtracting them and assigning them to a variable called difference of numbers, and I'm printing it. Next, we have multiply a float by a complex number. I've already declared the float value, so I'll just declare the complex number, which we know have the real part and the imaginary part, and then I'll just multiply them both and assign to the variable called product, and then print it here. And next we have to divide an integer by zero. Observe and doubt zero. We know that we cannot divide an integer by zero, so we'll just try the try except block, in which in try thing I have written the thing that I'm trying, which is try dividing by zero. I'm dividing a number by zero, a number when I've already declared here, and then I'm handling the error by using the except statement, except keyword, in which I'm printing a message that division that an error has been occurred, and that the error declares that division by zero is not allowed. So when we print the output, it can be seen as here: the sum, the difference, the product, and then the error. Next, we have built-in functions. Python have built-in functions, which eases our task to perform. So basically, we have many multiple built-in functions. We'll be using the absolute function, maximum function, and minimum functions to find the absolute and minimum values of the numbers. Here we have been giving an example input. Instead of using the example input, I've just took input from user. Um, I have asked user to enter a list of numbers separated by commas, and then I am assigning it to a list called numbers. And then I'll be applying these functions to the list, and then assigning the answers to these variables. So I use absolute functions by using for loop in numbers, which is the list. It will basically iterate through numbers and then find out the absolute value in all the numbers. Then the maximum number in the list of numbers will be found by this function, and then minimum, and then I'll print it. So it has successfully printed the absolute values, uh, then maximum value, and then minimum value. Next, we have arithmetic operations, in which we have been given to create a simple calculator, uh, and in which we have to enter two numbers, ask the user to enter two numbers, then they can select an operation and then perform the operation, handling division by zero as well. So here I have just asked the user to input two numbers, and then by using the while true loop, I have displayed the options, in which I'm asking the user to enter the number corresponding to the operation. So the operation will be performed um, according to the number that they have selected. So the first operation, we have sum, we have for second operation we have difference, then for third it has product, and then fourth it has division. And in division we have handling the division by zero error, in which I have declared that if the number 2, which is denominator, is not zero, then I'll just simply perform the division and print the result, and if it is zero, then the error message will be printed. And for operation 5, I have given the user to exit the program. And in case they enter some other value than the options, it will print a value that invalid operation selected. Please choose from these numbers. When I run the program, it can be seen that it has asked the numbers and then to select an operation, and then it has selected 1, so it performs the sum. And next we have it again displays the options, and it says 5, so it exits the program by displaying the message exiting the program, goodbye. Thank you so much. This was my assignment 1 for DSMP fellowship program. I'll be adding links to my GitHub profile, in which I have done this assignment, and the link to my Medium blog, in which I've discussed the concepts that were covered in my class 1, which was of Python basics. So you guys can access that all. Thank you so much.